the Teak and Tierney Show. All right, so we got a lot of afternoon baseball today. Now, listen, Teak, I think that, and quite frankly, it's played out. It's boring. I don't even want to do it. You kind of talk about the Mets' offensive deficiencies, well, the average, the open. I mean, it is boring. I've got a bigger picture, a bigger issue for the Mets. I got a question. I'm not really sure what the Mets' plan is. What is the Mets' plan? The Mets have three studs in the minors who are absolutely crushing it. They all went deep last night. None of them are playing, yet there's holes everywhere in the lineup. The one kid they brought up for the minors, he's not playing enough, and they continue to misuse him, which is confounding. The batting order is a nightly guess. It's all over the place. I think the relief pitching patterns in terms of usage, very, very questionable. And I'm not really sure what the big picture direction for what is the plan? Because I can't talk about the Mets' lack of offense every day. I won't do it. I promise you, I won't do it for you. I won't do it for me. I won't do it for the Met fans who are tired of it. Legitimate, bigger picture question. What is the Mets' plan?
Well, here's the question that you should ask. Who's in charge? Is it Billy Epler or is it Buck? Because if it's Buck Showalter, I think what we're saying is that we have a Buck problem. Because the management of the bullpen, up 5 runs against the Padres 2 nights ago, Ottavino and Robertson pitch, so they're not available yesterday in a high-leverage situation, down a run. All you got to do is get a hold. Instead, you bring in Santana, who gives up a bomb that makes it 4-1, and less likely with a team that's not scoring to come back and win that game. Ultimately, they lost, as we all know. Francisco Alvarez, who needs to be playing. I mean, I have my frustrations with Francisco Alvarez.
Sure.
Out of his 2 high-leverage at-bats in the 8th and 9th inning last night, he got 10 pitches. He swung and missed on 3 outside the zone in the 8th inning, and he got in a 2-0 batter's count against Hader in the 9th inning, and then he swung through a bunch of pitches, none of which were in the zone. Francisco Alvarez is in a slump, even though you can't call it a slump because he's only had 8 at-bats, even though he's been up for a week and a half now. And so it's a management of the young kids. It's this decisions to leave the other young kids, all of whom went yard, as you were alluding to, Beatty and Vientos and Ronnie Mauricio down in Syracuse. They all go yard. They're going to sit down there because Buck Showalter doesn't trust young players. We talked a couple of weeks ago, BT, about the philosophy of the Mets. Get high-end pitching, spend some money, go get Verlander after you already have Scherzer and Quintana and get the posting of Senga from Japan. Like, go get high-end pitching and then rely on your veterans to be those clutch hitters. Those veterans are not clutch hitters, and the pitching has been compromised because of injury. So this is a Buck problem, both in management, but I also think in longer-term philosophy on what to do with the young players. He believes in the old guys, and I can get that.
A lot of coaches gravitate to veterans. You see that in the NBA a ton. I get it.
Especially when you're an old-school manager like he is. Yeah. But it's hampering, I think, some development, some necessary development of these young players who need to see at-bats. They need to be in these leverage situations. Francisco Alvarez needs to catch. He needs to do what he's brought up here to do, not play 2 out of 5 games or 6 games, whatever it's going to be.
He's playing 40% of the time.
40% of the time, and the alternative is Tomas Nido.
Yeah, not Thurman Munson, not Johnny Bench, not Gary Carter, not even John Stearns. Hell, not even Ron Hodges. Remember we were talking about Ron the other day? I'm generally confused. I am confused about the 2023 Mets. I'm confused about their direction. I am confused about their roster construction. Now, your point about Buck, right? Now, Buck has not done a good job so far this year. He has not. But I would submit to you that you could have a hybrid of Tony La Russa, Earl Weaver, and Miller Huggins, and Billy Martin, and Davey Johnson.
Oh, that'd be a hell of a hybrid person.
That'd be pretty good, but I still don't know how much they squeeze out of these Mets. I just don't get it. And listen, I know Volpe on the other. Volpe's not hitting. Volpe didn't start last night. Hopefully you get a little reboot. Hopefully Volpe gets going. But at least the Yanks are running Volpe out there. It is really weird what they've done to Alvarez, last year. And this gets tired. This is old. I used the term played out at the start of it. It's played out to just rehash the same things all the time. But they're not giving us a lot of other things to focus on because And that makes the rehashing somewhat, while played out, still relevant because it's the same issues. Is it Buck? Yeah. Is it Billy? Yeah. Is it a lack of effectiveness from certain players? Sure. You add that up, and these Mets, God, I'm tired of saying it. They played a handful of games, and they look lifeless too often. They look dormant. They look directionless. And frightening, most frightening, I think, for the Met fan, is they look to have an incredibly low ceiling and a very low floor.
Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean this is terminal. We're not throwing the Mets into the trash heap and saying they have no shot. I think they're 6-6. They're second in the East right now. It's not a runaway disaster, but I feel like the Mets they're figuring it out on the run, and it's just not the expectation that we had.
Oh, not after last year. It can't be.
That's exactly right. You had 101 wins. You had overachievement everywhere. You had successes that in series that you couldn't have expected. Like all these things that happened. And you had Edwin Diaz recovering from a rough 2021 to have maybe the best 2022 of any relief pitcher in the last 2 decades. Right? So you had all of these things go right. Right now, everything is going wrong, and it's making Buck Showalter have to scramble and maneuver and make decisions that we all are going to question, especially when it loses you games. And not games that you're getting destroyed. San Diego wasn't better than the Mets yesterday. They gave up bases loaded at the beginning in the top of the first inning or bottom of the first inning, but they got out of it. Maybe it's a little bit of luck. Maybe it's because Mark Canha's hitting in the 6th spot as opposed to Jeff McNeil, but they got out of it. It's not like they were beyond beatable yesterday. The Mets just didn't take advantage of it. So every situation that the Mets needed something positive to happen, it didn't happen. And so is that Buck? Not. Is it all Buck? No, it's not.
Not all Buck. It's not all Buck, but it's partly on Buck.
But to your point, when you have lineups that are very day in and day out, and guys don't really know what their role is, it gets really hard to be productive.
Yeah.
And so, again, it's not all on Buck, but it feels like a Buck problem.
And it's definitely on Epler as well. I mean, because Buck's only worked with what he's been given. Now you could say he's not working at a level that we're accustomed to with Buck Showalter. But, I mean, could the general manager give him some real options here? It's crazy. You go on Twitter, you go on social media every night, you see this guy going deep, this guy with 3 hits, this uber prospect, 2 for 5, 3 for 5, 3-run home run, 2-run home run. Then you watch the actual Mets, and you see a parade of zeros and a relatively punchless lineup. Now, I agree with you that big picture, it's not terminal, to use your word. But with this group of players, it is. This group of players, they are going absolutely nowhere. Nowhere. Now, I'm not saying McNeil's going to hit 258. I'm not saying that. Their better players will eventually, get to where the back of their cards or the website say that they are. Get that. But the holes that other teams get to navigate, really meaning navigating the better hitters for the Mets, is a better way to say, given the abundance of holes, they're not sustainable. You're not going to score 5, 6, 7 runs a night. Just not. They're 27. Now, as much as this is played out, I got to hit you with some numbers. The Mets are 27th in average. They're 26th in OPS. They're 23rd in home runs. They're 23rd in total runs. An anomaly, an outlier, a small sample, it's early. No. I don't think so, because this is exactly what I pointed to last year and all offseason. Get rid of the dead weight, get rid of the stiffs, and when you called the freaking stars up, that home run by Beatty to dead center lane, I tweeted this, right? I retweeted from SNY Mets video. That is a pretty good pitch. That is starting on the catcher's left shin guard, meaning slightly the outer portion of home plate, and that thing darts hard and fast. And this kid sees the spin, drops the barrel. It is a low spinner, and he looks at it like it's a 10-year-old throwing a wiffle ball. Like, okay, I see what you do. That was a good pitch. This kid's got to be up here. Now, you want to tell me Alvarez can't catch or he's a little deficient? Who knows if of all the players, that guy's got to be up here. Don't tell me he can't play third base. Oh, I don't trust his glove. I can't watch Escobar play anymore. He stinks.
BT,
he's cooked.
You don't even need him to play
Come
third.
on.
You don't even need him to play
You
third.
can DH him, right?
Just DH him.
Or that.
I'm serious.
Or that. I mean, that swing is too beautiful to waste up in Syracuse in 39-degree temperature. What are you doing? 877-337-6666. Tiki and Tierney on the Fan. All right, let's get to you guys. See what you think. Let's get Mike and Bayonne first up with us here on the Fan. Mikey, what's cooking?
Hey, good morning, guys. Hey, BT, I called you guys last week about this lineup. And, Vogelback stinks. Nito stinks. Escobar stinks. If we're going to go out with this current lineup as it is, you got to have Nimmo, Lindor, McNeil, Alonso, Marte, 1 through 5, because that extends the lineup. With Alvarez, if you're not going to play this kid every day, if you're going to play him every third, fourth day, send him back down or trade him and rely on Parada in a couple years.
Agreed.
Because you got to let this kid play. You can't get him into big spots and expect this guy to produce if he's playing every third, fourth day.
I agree.
It's absolutely ridiculous. And then we have Canha batting behind Pete Alonso in a big spot last night when everybody knows Canha's not a superstar. He's not a starting left fielder. He's a nice backup. And then during the late innings of a game, when you need a big hit, when you got to look to the bench, BT, look at the bench on this team. The 4 guys they got sitting on the bench.
That's brutal.
They wouldn't be sitting on the bench for any of the other 30 teams.
But Mike, this is what you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. There's no question that Mike is right. Thanks for the call there, buddy. But you talk about the bench, you talk about the dearth of potent bats, and we can point to Buck all we want. Let's also redirect and channel that anger or that energy or that whatever toward the general manager.
Yeah.
He built the team.
No, he did. He did. And maybe
he's the one. I'm sorry. Just to finish the thought, he's the one who looked at this roster a year ago. They won 101 games, second most in Mets history. And Billy Epler is the one who sat back and said, "Yeah, we're good. We don't need to do anything else. We're fine. We're good." No, you're not.
Well, yeah.
You're not good.
It's very complicated on how the philosophy is evolving. Because I think Stevie Cohen is trying to follow what the Dodgers did. Spend a lot of money and build the farm system at the same time. And that works as long as the money that you're spending, the guys that you're spending money on, they're producing. They're getting you deep into the postseason. Hell, they even won one. And you still have a farm system that's very reliable. The issue with the Mets is that the farm, these kids that are making nothing, are theoretically outperforming the money that you've spent.
Yeah.
And so,
I know exactly what you mean.
So they're early. They're good too soon for the plan, right? For the philosophy, they're good too soon, and they need to be up. And there's roadblocks, even though I think they're just theoretical roadblocks. They're not real.
Escobar signed a 2-year deal.
Exactly.
That's not a big deal.
That's my point.
Yep.
You can move on from Escobar.
Even if you keep him on the team, let him play once or twice a week. That's fine.
You can let Vogelback be someplace else.
Yep.
You can do all these
things.
things.
Paid him $1.5 million.
You
You
can
paid
do
him
all
nothing.
these things. Make the future the present.
Yes.
That's what Met fans are clamoring for, especially when you see outings or nights like we saw last night. There was no reason they should have lost that game.
I agree.
None at all. Especially with the bases loaded in the first inning and plenty of scoring opportunities in crunch time that they just couldn't capitalize on.
877-337-6666. Tiki and Tierney here on the Fan. How about Ryan out in Denver? Big Mets guy out there, free Odyssey app. Ryan, what's happening, bud? How are you?
Tiki, how you guys doing?
We're good. What's up, dude?
Hey, Ryan.
Not too much. Hey, listen, talking about the 2 points, one on the Mets lineup construction, and then obviously the second point on the prospects. After watching Lindor last night strike out a couple times on fastballs right down the middle of the plate, McNeil needs to be batting third for this team. You got to Nimmo's the on-base
I said that yesterday, Ryan.
You can bat Lindor second, but you need to protect Pete Alonso, and you need a contact guy in that third hole because it's killing this team right now. And Marte can bat anywhere in the lineup.
Yeah, put him at 6
behind Pete.
Put him behind Pete.
Put him at 5th or 6th. Vogelback's got to be gone. We know that. Escobar's going to be gone. We know that. And, I can tell you, guys, I go down to spring training every year with my dad. It's kind of a tradition we do down to Port St. Lucie. And I was sitting at the ballpark of the Palm Beaches with my dad watching Beatty and Mauricio and Vientos play when a lot of these guys were at the World Baseball Classic. They got a bunch of at-bats. And I can tell you right now that the way that the ball comes off the bat from these three kids, it's just different. It's different. And BT, you played a long time. You know, when you hear guys in the cage and that sound, when it's different.
Yep.
You know it.
I hear you.
Up here, and they need to be playing. This is ridiculous. I don't care if they have a $350 million payroll. These kids have got to be on the field. They have to.
Now, let me tell you this, Ryan, and good call. Thanks for the call. As much as Met fans are rightfully frustrated right now, this is going to change soon. I believe that. This roster is going to change soon.
What makes you think that?
Because you just can't keep that kind of talent. You can't suppress that talent for so long and stifle that talent when what you run out there every night just ain't it. I mean, you don't have to be some brilliant, shrewd, forward thinker to realize that these kids are coming soon. In the meantime, you're going to have some frustrating nights like last night. You're going to have a lot of ugly at-bats and empty innings, left unfulfilled. But this is not a season-long thing. Now, the problem is, or the potential dilemma is, there's no guarantee. I mean, look at Volpe. Can Beatty come up here and hit 190 for the first 15? Sure. And can the Mets offense continue to languish? Sure. At that point, do you maybe dig a little bit of a hole that is a little tough to dig out of? Possible. But you're not stuck with this lineup much longer. That I can promise you.
No, and you're lucky that the division's not running away from you.
Yeah, Philly's a scuffling.
Atlanta's only 2 games ahead of you. Miami, interestingly, is in the 3-hole right now, but Philly has struggled.
Yeah.
They lost yesterday, too, as well. So, I mean, you're lucky that the division is just kind of the same in a lot of ways.
Yep.
But the expectation was so much higher for this Mets team, as we heard often. Same team as last year. Why not we win 100 games? Because it's not the same team.
877-337-6666. Tiki and Tierney on the Fan inside of our Town Fair Tire studio. Our friends at Town Fair remind you that you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. I mean, listen, and we'll get to the Knicks deeper in the week. Obviously, game 1 on Saturday. But for years, we've sat here and we've yelled and we screamed and we've wondered, what are the Knicks, like, what is the Knicks' plan? And I think that's what's frustrating for me about the Mets. I know they've got some talent and they've got some things that are desirable, but I'm confused about the plan. It doesn't seem congruent with who they were a year ago. Listen, it's not always linear. I get that. You don't always just take that incremental step. 101 wins, you get bounced by the Padres. That means you come back, you win the net. No, that doesn't happen that way. But it seems like an abortion of plan, like they're aborting the plan. I don't know. I'm confused, and I think you guys are as well. 877 and frustrated. 877-337-6666. We'll get.